Hello, good afternoon, good evening. So good to be live and to see you here today. I hope everyone is having a wonderful Friday. Okay, so I'm Gemma Keeling. I'm really looking forward to sharing all about some communication confidence strategies that I wanted to share. But if you just joined, let me know by saying hi. I know usually I go live on Tuesday. We've mixed the days up a little bit today, and I am live on Fridays. So, welcome everybody. How are you all doing? Let me know if you are watching. Okay, so if you've just joined, let me know by saying hi. And today I'm going to be talking all about how to express your ideas with more confidence and how you can sound more confident by how you use your voice. So, one thing about when we speak and when we communicate is the words that you're using might be very strong, and it might be that you sound very confident in the language. But it's not just what you say, but very much how you say it. And there are three big issues or mistakes that come up a lot. And I'm going to be talking all about those strategies with you today, and how you can really use these techniques in your job to really connect with your colleagues and just feel more confident using English at work. So I'll be looking at these common communication challenges that I think all of us will face. And one of these has been a big challenge for myself. I will explain a little bit more about how I was able to overcome that and how I continue to overcome that particular challenge. So, hello. Looks like we have a few join. Hi, Patrick. Great to have you here. We have Adriano. Welcome. And Douglas. Hi. Good to have you here. Let me know where you are listening in from. So, where are you right now? I am in central Mexico, and it's a little bit colder here. We have a storm coming up from the south of Mexico, so it's very gray, a lot of rain. Feels like home. It feels like England. So let me know where you are listening from. We also have Marcos. Hello, great to have you here. So nice to see you. Welcome. If you've just joined, say hello and let me know where you are watching or listening in from. Perfect. So welcome. As you may not know, or if this is the first time you've joined me, I do go live every week. Now, typically I go live on a Tuesday. I know today is Friday, but I do go live every week on LinkedIn and on YouTube. So hello, shout out to you if you're watching on YouTube as well. So I'm Gemma Keeling, and I'm a linguist, an English teacher, and communication coach. And I have over 14 years of experience helping professionals to achieve communication clarity, English fluency, and confidence. Now, confidence is a big part of this, and it is what I'm going to be looking at more closely today. Now, I typically work with design and tech professionals, and I help them to really transform their English-speaking fluency so they not only survive using English at work, but they feel really comfortable and they can say yes to more opportunities in their professional career. So if you are a design or tech professional and you have challenges with English speaking fluency or communication at work, and you want to feel more confident in your role, or maybe you're looking for a new job, then you're definitely in the right place. So I'm going to be, as I mentioned, sharing some different strategies when it comes to sounding more confident, and what you can say, and 3 common mistakes and areas where you can focus on that will help you to sound more confident in your language. It looks like we have a few more. It says LinkedIn user. I can't see who you are, but we have a few of you here as well, joining from Turkey. A linguist. Great to have a fellow linguist. welcome. So nice to have you join me. Let me know where you are watching from. Where are you right now? It's so good to have you here. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm going to share some common challenges. And one thing, it's not just about the language that we use. And that's really why, I have a newsletter called Beyond English Fluency, because really it's not just your English level or the language that you use, but really how we connect with others and how we communicate. And the words, sure, but it's also how we use those. And one part of that is our intonation. So I'm going to be sharing 3 things with you. Now, one of the most common challenges, and this is especially true for native English speakers as well, and those with a very high level of English, and that is making a statement as a question. So, have you ever noticed yourself, you want to say, this is a pen? For example, this is a pen. Now, when we use our intonation of the voice, that is a statement. I start high, like this is a pen, and my voice goes down. Now, to make that a question, I would go up at the end of my intonation, like this is a pen, this is a pen, and going up. Now, when that happens, whether that's intentionally or not, it sounds like you are questioning and you are doubting yourself. Now, this is something that is very common among English speakers, and we sometimes wonder why our ideas, we have a really great idea, and we're struggling to get others on board with that idea. So it might be that you need to negotiate an idea and get buy-in for a decision and sound convincing. And the language that you're using, you really feel that it's very strong, you've made a good case, but sometimes it can be as simple as the intonation of your voice. So that is the first kind of challenge that I want to really bring to your attention, is how you use your voice. And that intonation going up of sounding like a question really is one area that is a common mistake and might be the reason why, even your best idea falls flat and doesn't sound very convincing or credible. So that's the first area that I wanted to really share with you, is how you use your voice. Now, I mentioned this is common with native English speakers, but I've also found this is the intonation pattern of the language. So in English, we typically, when we say a statement, we will start high and then we go down. And then a question, we might go up at the end. Now, there are different types of questions. I won't go into that today. But our intonation, so the rise and the fall of our voice, that intonation pattern can vary depending on the language that you speak. So, for example, in Italian or Portuguese, and Portuguese speakers, let's just focus on, I know I have a lot of Portuguese speakers from Brazil and Portugal. And one thing is that they tend to rise their voice at the end more frequently, which I think sounds very beautiful. It sounds very musical. It sounds like very enthusiastic. But when that translates to English, sometimes there can be a misunderstanding, because it can sound like maybe you're asking a question and you're not very sure or maybe confident in what you're saying. And that's because of that language transfer from your first language, Portuguese, Italian, to English. So there can be a few reasons why, whether you intentionally or you're not sure, so you might make a statement into a question, or it can be that it's from the language that you speak, and that language transfer, you're not always really aware that it's happening and that you might sound that way. So something you can do to really overcome that is, instead of asking really pay attention to that intonation pattern. So when you do raise your voice at the end of the sentence, it can accidentally make it sound like a question instead of a statement. So you do want to really listen to your voice. It might be that you need to record your voice to see when that's happening. Or it could be you get feedback from, an English teacher or a coach or someone who's trained to really listen to that. And really, you can do that yourself, listen back, record yourself and listen. It's like, do I really do that? And it might be that you record yourself speaking in a meeting or a situation that's more natural with your colleagues and listen back to how you sound, how did you sound in that meeting or when you were speaking? And really listen to, does my voice go up at the end or does it fall more flat? Now, when it falls more flat, you will sound more convincing. So that's just something to look for. Yeah. Marcos, hi, you're in Rio de Janeiro, welcome. And I know that we have this problem with our music. Yeah, and I think it sounds beautiful, but there are certain instances, especially professional situations, where you do want to sound more convincing. And it's nothing to do with your accent. It's nothing to do with that. It's just how you stress on different parts of the word when you're speaking. So yes, it's really, do I have this problem? And it's fine maybe when you're speaking with your friends and you get excited and it happens to, like I said, it happens to native speakers, but there are certain situations, especially if you have to be more convincing, and if you're delivering a presentation or if you want to get buy-in for your decisions, then that is those specific moments where you want to really pay attention to that. But welcome. It's great to have you join from Rio. Wonderful. So that's the first thing, is really, the intonation of my voice and where that, the inflection of where it goes up at the end. So paying attention to that, because that might make you sound like you are uncertain and not very confident in what you're saying, even if you are very confident. So that's the first thing. Now, the next thing I wanted to address is speaking too quickly. And there are a few reasons why this happens. And I've had some students, when they first meet me, they say, I think I speak too slowly in English. And I want to sound more fluent. And to sound more fluent, I think I need to speak faster. I want to sound, I need to sound like, I think speaking quickly means I speak fluently. Now, that can be one reason. You think I need to speak faster because I will sound more fluent if I speak faster. But here's the thing, speaking quickly doesn't always work in your favor. And it might be you aren't intentionally speaking faster, but it could be that you are nervous. Now, when we're nervous, we tend to race through our words. We tend to speak faster. So it could be, that you are nervous, you are delivering a presentation, and you think, I want to get over this really quickly, blah, 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 and you speak too quickly. So there's a few reasons why you might speak too quickly. It might be because you think, if I speak faster, I will sound more fluent. Or I'm nervous and I'm speaking faster. But here's the thing, speaking quickly does not make you sound more fluent. You really want to focus on, instead of rushing through your words, have a steady pace. And it might be in your first language, you're used to speaking at a much faster pace. And it does feel like a little bit of a step back. I know for me, when I have to speak Spanish, when I first started learning Italian and other languages, I felt like a child, really slow. But you will naturally get faster. But I recommend to really focus on clarity. So instead of rushing through your words, aim for a steady pace. Now, that steady pace in English might be slower than what you're used to, but that's okay. It doesn't mean you don't sound like you are very, it doesn't make you sound like you're not a fluent speaker. There are some fluent speakers that will speak slower. So one way that you can really do that is to use the power of pausing. And, I'm using it right now on purpose, but when you're speaking, it gives you time to think of what's next. And when you're speaking in a second or a third or a foreign language, that pausing will help you to really gather your ideas and then be able to communicate. Another thing that using the pause does is it gives your listener a chance to really absorb and understand what you're saying. So that's the first thing, is if you do find you speak too quickly, whether that is because you feel I want to sound more fluent, so I think I should speak faster, or you think, or you feel nervous and you start to, you're presenting and you just feel that you're racing through your words, take a moment to pause. And one thing you can actually do is by, looking before of which moments will be effective to use that pause, because we can pause to, it can really impact what you're saying and make it even more powerful if you know when to pause at certain points, for example, in a presentation. So if you do find yourself speaking too quickly, think about how you can pause and slow down and that pace of your voice. Secondly, you can also focus on each word and clearly pronounce each word. So slow down slightly to really ensure that every word stands out. And it might be that you have to, think about the pronunciation of each, go for clarity in what you're saying. That's the first thing, is that clarity, slow down. And then, like I said, pausing, if you do have brief pauses when you're speaking, your audience can really catch up and understand what you're saying. Now, if you are working in an international environment, it's likely that you will be working with people that are also, they have different accents. Some might speak a lot faster than others. Some might have a different level of English. So it's something to really consider, because really the goal is having that understanding. You want to be understood. So yeah, that's the second idea I really wanted to share with you, is that mistake of speaking too quickly. One, because you're nervous, and two, because you think I sound more fluent if I speak faster. Now, the next point, just before I go to the next point, it looks like we have a few comments. So I really like your British accent. Thank you. My lecturers were from the States. My accent is an American accent. Yeah, this is nothing to do with accents. This is just about communication and being understood. It doesn't matter what accent you have, but you do want to be understood by others. And also by the language that you're using, you want to come across that you're confident in what you're saying. Now, everyone has different accents. That's not the issue, but it's how quickly you might be speaking. Or it might be that you are questioning by raising your voice. Now, that's universal. It doesn't matter what accent you have. And interestingly, that has started, I live in Mexico, and it's quite fashionable in California to raise your intonation. Think about, the Kardashians, they go up at the end of everything that they're saying. So that has actually translated to, a few of my students have told me that Spanish speakers will do that as well, even though it's not that common to do that, but it sounds kind of fashionable to do that. Which, if you want to speak like that with your friends, no judgment, completely fine. But in particular situations where you do want to be more convincing and you want to get buy-in, then that's something to pay attention to. Okay, now the last thing that I wanted to share with you is around over-explaining. Now, I see this quite a lot, and what happens is you might have to explain something quite complex. And when you're explaining something complex, let me know if you, in your job, you have to explain complex or technical information. Do you have to do that in your job? No matter what job you have, do you have to explain complex concepts or ideas? Is that something that you have to do? Let me know if that's something that is quite common. Now, one thing is, if you do have to explain something that can be quite complex, you might find yourself using lots of different words to explain yourself. Now, you just keep on talking and talking because you think maybe it's not very clear and you want to make it clearer. So you just keep explaining. Now, the problem is, the more words that you use, it doesn't always make your message stronger. In fact, the more words that you use can actually make the message weaker. And here, quality is better than quantity when you're trying to explain something complex. So this happens because we believe that the more we talk, the more convincing we will be. Now, I've definitely fallen into this. This has happened to me, and it's still, an area that I am developing, and I am aware of that this is, a mistake that I sometimes make. So it might be I feel like I need to add more details, thinking that it will make my argument stronger and better. But in reality, using too many words can make your message confusing. When I say message, it could be a written message, anything that you say, whether that is a conversation or you're presenting an idea. But I've definitely fallen into this trap of over-explaining. So how can you overcome that? If you find yourself trying to, explain an idea to a colleague or to an important stakeholder, and you find that you're speaking too much, the first thing is, instead of using lots of words, you really want to aim to be brief. Now, it might mean you have to do a bit of planning before that meeting. It's not always possible, but if you know you have to deliver a presentation or you have an interview in English, for example, one thing, I have interviewed lots of people before, and one thing that happens during the interview is, you have to introduce yourself. And sometimes you will just keep talking and talking and explaining about the project and maybe repeating yourself. Now, before, if you have an interview, you have time to practice and to prepare. The same if you have a presentation. It's not always possible to prepare beforehand, but if it is, take a moment to think, what is the main point that I want to share, point or points, and just really think, how can I make this simple? When you do that, your message will become clearer and more effective. Now, the next thing is also to practice being brief. So when you have shared the first part of information, pause and see if anyone has any questions. It's really a technique of listening more than you speak. And sometimes saying less can really help to make your message more impactful. And if you share your idea and pause, you might get some questions. Then you can explain more information. Or you can just listen and just spend that time to see how much more you need to explain and really get that, communication is a two-way street. It's not just me speaking and over-explaining. So over-explaining is really something to also focus on. As I've mentioned, there's 3 main points I wanted to share with you today. The first one is your intonation of your voice and how you might make a statement into a question. The second one is speaking too quickly, and then also over-explaining yourself. So at these points, have any of these happened to you? Which one do you think? Let me know. Okay, Douglas said, during the interviews, I used to train my bullet points about life experience in corporate projects. Yes, that's it. Having bullet points and just sticking to those bullet points is a good idea. Now, sometimes you might have a bullet point and then you expand on that idea. And then you think, okay, I don't think this person really understands what I'm saying. I'm going to add a bit more information and then a bit more information. And that's where over-explaining can happen. So I think it's training yourself to stick to the bullet points. It's a good practice. Thank you for sharing that, Douglas. Yeah, perfect. So which of these 3 would you say you find the most challenging? Do you find any of these challenging at all? Are these areas that you feel you could improve on, or anything that I've shared today that you would like to comment on? Let me know. I know for me, like I said, over-explaining is definitely one that I've had to really learn to summarize and become more clear and to the point in the way that I speak. So that's the one for me, but I'd love to hear for you. Which of these do you think is an area you would like to develop or has been interesting to hear about? Let me know. Now, there are other areas too. I've just picked 3, but there are other areas that come up. In my last live, I spoke about some of the common barriers that might come up, especially when working in an international environment. These are just kind of 3 of many different mistakes and areas where not just non-native English speakers, like I said, these are common for native English speakers as well. If you have a very high level of English, these are some of the reasons why your communication might not always be understood, or it might not be very convincing, or you might find that there are some confusion or miscommunication, and it can be for just a simple reason like the ones that I've shared today. Now, as you know, I help design professionals in feeling more confident in their communication with strategies like I've shared today, but also in building their English speaking fluency, because it's both. I really say you do need to have the language, and you need to build that foundation of the language. But also once you have the language, it's then being able to practice and implement that in real life situations. So that's exactly why for the last few years, I've been working with design and tech professionals. I've worked with them one-on-one, and I've also worked with them in groups and with different companies in Spain, companies in Brazil, companies in the US and Germany. And a lot of what I've taught and I've shared today is just a few aspects of that. And that's really how we can, feel more confident in your role and have these different techniques. So when you do have, for example, an interview, or if you are carrying out a workshop, or you have to present your ideas and get buy-in, all of these situations that come up, for me, it's important to give you the tools and the strategies to be able to handle those. And that's why I've created Thrive in English for Designers, because I want to give you those strategies that you can, feel more confident and build your fluency in those professional situations. Now, for many that I work with, the goal is to advance to a more senior position, to maybe improve their salary, to get a promotion. And sometimes it's to have more opportunities to connect. I know recently I spoke with someone from Peru, and she told me, I really want to connect with other professionals. I want to, have a mentor and be able to really connect with the best talent to learn from them. And to do that, I need to develop my English and my confidence to be able to really improve in my career. So whatever your goal, Thrive in English could be, potentially a great option for you. If any of this has resonated with you today, if you are looking to develop your communication confidence and English speaking fluency. So Thrive in English is a digital course experience. However, we also have the group option. Now, the group option will give you 8 sessions. So we do a session for 1 hour in small groups where you will get to really practice these strategies. And before the session, you will have access to the digital course. You have lifetime access to the course. But before the session, you can go and take a look at some of these different techniques, like the ones that I shared with you today, and really think, okay, so these are some of the techniques and these are the situations. In the class, you will then have the opportunity to practice and get feedback. So you can learn to maybe find a better way of explaining yourself. Or, okay, that's one way of saying this, but perhaps you could say it in a different way. Or really just giving you that opportunity to practice and get feedback to really improve, how you articulate your ideas, how you can express complex ideas, and maybe get buy-in for your decisions. So if you are interested in hearing more about the Thrive in English course for designers, then send me a message. It is only available for a very limited time. So let me know if this is something that you feel like, yeah, this could be interesting for me. Send me a message and I'd love to share more about how we can work together and how it can potentially be a good fit for you. So today, we have a few people joining. Welcome if you're just joining now. Someone has asked for my Instagram. You can find me under Fluent Speakers. My Instagram is Fluent Speakers. I will share that in the comments. Hopefully. Yeah, Fluent Speakers. You should be able to see that. Yeah, so today I was sharing about 3 different common mistakes and challenges that come up when it comes to communication and how you can sound more convincing and confident in your language. Now, some of the takeaways are that it's not, speaking fluently is not about how quickly you speak. So one thing you might need to consider is slowing down and how you can use pausing. Another aspect is how you might create sentences, statements as questions. And that's to do with the intonation. And it could be for a few reasons. One, because you are a Portuguese or an Italian speaker, and it's more common that you have, your voice is more musical, and that translates to English, and it might be one of the reasons. It could also be that you aren't very confident and you do question what you're saying. That could be another reason why that happens. Now, finally, we also looked at how you might over-explain and some of the techniques that you can follow if you find that you are talking too much and you're trying to get to the point and you just keep speaking. Now, there are other reasons why that happens. It can be because you haven't taken the time to prepare. Like Douglas said, it's important to have the bullet points and to follow a clear structure, a formula, an idea of how to share your ideas. Or it can be for cultural reasons. In some language speakers, it's depending if you're a direct communicator or an indirect communicator based on your communication cultural understanding. You might use more words to explain something. So there's a lot of reasons why this can happen. But what's important is knowing, is this a mistake that I'm making? And if it is, how can I overcome this? So today I've shared a few different ways that you can overcome that. I hope you found that interesting. Like I said, if you are a design professional and you're looking to advance your English communication for career success, send me a message and I can share more about how I can support you, especially if you want to speak English more fluently and confidently in professional settings. And I'd love to support you. And I'd love to hear from you. So feel free to send me a message. I think that's everything for today. I don't see any questions. If you do have any questions, though, send me a direct message. I love hearing from you. But I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And I will see you all very soon. Like I said, I go live every week. I will be going live again on Tuesday. And I will see you all there. Have a wonderful weekend. See you all soon. Bye.